and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is a cybersecurity strategist, CEO of Protosec, advocate for civic resilience and secure leadership. No other than Miss Jolie Grace Wareham. Welcome to Book 101, Miss Jolie, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yes, certainly. Daniel, thank you for having me on. Excited for this conversation. Like you said, I'm Jolie Grace Wareham. I serve as CEO of Protosec. We are a cyber security advocacy and advisory firm. We focus on serving small and mid-sized entities. Kind of that 500 million annual revenue and below is kind of our sweet spot. And we really help kind of be the human side of cybersecurity and really help people understand all the operational and all the human aspects that must be connected to the technical work in order to secure what you do best. So that's a little bit about what we do.
Miss Jolly Grace Wareham, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today, let's talk about cybersecurity. Is not just it; it's
Yes.
leadership for sure. Why do you say cybersecurity is more about leadership than just it?
Oh, yeah. Then just IT. Yes. So a lot of times
Just
when
IT. Yeah,
people,
sorry.
no, you're good. You're a lot of times acronyms are fun, right? In this world, a lot of times when people hear the term cybersecurity, they often imagine maybe a guy in a hoodie in a basement, like hasn't seen the light of day, hacking away at a computer, a lot of ones and zeros. And at the end of the day, a lot of times cybersecurity is a human decides to do something bad and a good human falls for it. That's a lot of the time what's happening and what we see around the world. And so um, a lot of times people conflate cybersecurity and IT because a lot of times we're thinking about securing our technological infrastructure in our businesses or our individual home infrastructures, and we sometimes think that cybersecurity is just an element of IT or information technology, but really it's something that's a whole of organization necessity, and it requires a whole of organization approach. And what I mean by that is that when we think about cybersecurity, or we're thinking about information security in general, protecting the assets that maybe your business or your organization has, it's something that is, of course, a very important element of your information technology team and experts, but it's something that also is important to your operations team or your HR team or your finance team or your legal or your PR team. It's really something that is everybody's responsibility, and it's something that touches every different aspect of a business, and therefore it really truly is a leadership question, and it's an important part of business strategy and business leadership. So when we work with a lot of small mid-sized businesses, it's not just talking to somebody in one department like the IT department. It's engaging people in those C-suite level roles, such as CEOs or COOs, chief operation officers, and it really is something that must come from both the bottom and the top when it comes to really doing proper and efficient security for your organization. And so when we say that cybersecurity is an element of good leadership and good business strategy, it's something that must be driven in a lot of ways from the top, and it's a piece of good business stewardship and responsibility, and it's an important element of business continuity and protecting your customers, your employees. It's really something that is woven into every aspect of a business and therefore is very tied to leadership.
Miss JC, how can executive demonstrate they truly prioritize cybersecurity beyond just budgeting for it?
Sure, that's a really great question. I appreciate that you brought up the budgeting piece. Sometimes I will touch on that. It's interesting, in the last several years, even since I've been involved in this field, cybersecurity has obviously changed so much, and we still as a business communities don't always understand that cybersecurity has to be a part of your budget. It must be. And whether you're a founder of a new startup or you are the CEO of a huge global, Fortune 500 company or something, you must have a budget for cybersecurity. We have a budget for legal or PR or HR or operations. And this is a really integral part of making sure that your business can run properly and run smoothly. In fact, there's a statistic that shares that, especially when it comes to small businesses, if a small business is hit by a cyber attack, within 6 months, they have a 60% chance of being out of business. And so it really is truly a life or death situation for a business or organization. And so, um, budget is an important piece. But outside of budget, like to speak to your question, um, executives must show that they value cybersecurity in the way that they run their business in a lot of ways. Like I mentioned, a lot of times cybersecurity is something that's very much a human issue or human and operational consideration. And so, from the top, a CEO should be encouraging HR to incorporate um, proper protected use of technology in their employee handbooks, or encouraging their IT or their security team to come up with policies and procedures for how um, employees in a business should operate when it comes to security. And also, CEOs should also, and other C suite folks should be modeling good cybersecurity hygiene. They should be not just setting rules, but they should be following them themselves. So maybe that is incorporating password policies or utilization of password managers or pass keys or something, and not just telling their employees to do it, but also actually doing it themselves, really walking the walk, not just talking the talk. That's very important because a lot of employees are going to look to see, well, is the CEO doing it? Do I really have to do it? Is this really important? And that can really help them understand that this is actually something that we as an organization are caring about.
Miss JC, what's the biggest misconception leaders have about their role in cybersecurity?
Oh, that's a great question. I think a lot of times, and if we want to define leaders as kind of those CEOs or COOs or something, or vice presidents of an organization, um, I think that sometimes they're wearing so many hats and they don't recognize just how important um, their attention to cybersecurity is. And I think there's a common misconception also that cybersecurity is an IT only issue, like we talked about before. And as a result, the way that cybersecurity is budgeted, or the way that there is accountability or processes or procedures or capability building within the organization, it's not going to be as effective and as efficient and as meaningful if the CEO or other leaders are operating from a very siloed understanding of cybersecurity. They think it lives in just one part of the business or one part of the organization. I think that's a really big common misconception. Like I said, because that can affect how it's budgeted, how it's carried out, how there's accountability measures in place. So I think really not having that whole of organization approach is something that really holds a lot of businesses back and can unfortunately cost them a lot of dollars or even cost them their business in the long run.
Very well said, Miss JC. Beautifully, beautifully articulated. Building a security conscious culture or conscious culture. How can leadership or how can leaders foster a culture where security is everyone's responsibility, not
Sure.
just IT's?
Yes, certainly. That's a great question. I think that there is a lot that leaders and organizations can do to really help everyone across the organization understand that this is everybody's role. I think it's important to be really articulate and identify, well, yes, ensuring that the business or the organization is secure is everybody's responsibility. We all have a role to play in it. It is important to outline, okay, but at the end of the day, who is leading this aspect and who is leading this aspect and who is leading this aspect? That's really important to put in place. while it's the responsibility of every individual to be stewards of the security of the organization, keeping an eye out for phishing attacks, not sharing information they're not supposed to, utilizing proper password or passkey hygiene. Well, that's everybody's responsibility. From the top, it's very helpful for the organization to really have a standard operating procedure, SOPs around security, that really, at the end of the day, do identify who are the point people. For instance, it's very important. Something that we advocate for and help businesses with a lot is building incident response plans. And what those are is it's literally a playbook. We wrote one for a company. That they're a global manufacturing company, and we wrote a 72-page document for them that is literally a playbook for, in the case of a cyber incident, they can open it up, they know what to do at minute 1, minute 2, day 3, and it literally outlines who and which department and who in each department is responsible to do what. And it's very important when we talk about how cybersecurity is everybody's responsibility to also say, well, what does that really mean when push comes to shove? You know, who's going to be contacting who's going to be calling who. And I think having those kind of plans and procedures and having leadership call for those procedures to be created and rehearsed and tested out, that's very important. I think it really helps folks understand what exactly we say, or we're meaning when we say that cybersecurity is everybody's responsibility. Does that make sense there? I think that's
Makes
a really
sense.
important aspect. Yeah,
Makes sense. Everybody's responsibilities, people. And what's your
sure.
advice for getting employee buy-in on security policies that may
Yeah.
seem inconvenient?
That's such a good question. I'm so glad that you mentioned that. A lot of times people say, well, how much, when we're talking to folks about maybe incorporating a new security software or starting to, like you said, incorporate, build and develop and incorporate and implement cybersecurity policies or procedures. A lot of times people ask two questions. It's how much is this going to cost me and how much time is this going to take me to get used to it? Because at the end of the day, we're talking about a lot of businesses that care about their bottom line. They don't want to slow down efficiency. But a lot of times where those conversations go is that we actually show how different cybersecurity softwares and technologies, as well as policies and procedures, when developed with your specific business and the way that you operate, the personalities on your team, when those things are developed, with those things in mind, they actually end up making your team, and a lot of times, run more efficiently and faster and more cohesive. And at the end of the day, obviously more secure. And so we often talk to folks about the ways that incorporating some of these cybersecurity practices or policies can actually speed up and make your team better and your organization better, which can actually improve your bottom line at the end of the day. If you look at how a business and their cybersecurity operations is going and how efficient that is, it's actually a really good diagnostic for how the business as a whole is going. Because cybersecurity, like we've talked about, touches so many different aspects of a business. And therefore, when there's not cohesion, there's not cross functionality happening with cybersecurity, often means that's not happening with other aspects of the business. So we actually talk about how it's a business enabling tool in a lot of ways. In addition, having better cybersecurity policies and just have a better cybersecurity posture in general, we actually talk to folks about how that can be leveraged as a marketing tool a lot of times. There's an interesting statistic I came across recently that says that 30 for just legal field, 37% of legal clients are willing to pay more for a law firm that has better cybersecurity. And so cybersecurity is not just business enabling. It's not just talking about business continuity. It's actually something that can set you apart and improve your value proposition to your customers or investors. So we talk about a lot of those different aspects when folks are concerned. And then also we help folks and we coach them through, actually figure out how do you incorporate this into your everyday life and your if we're introducing a new procedure. And when you build these procedures, you have to keep personalities in mind and how people work, because a technology or a policy is only as good as how much people actually implement it and use it properly.
Miss JC, as a cybersecurity strategist, CEO, advocate, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes. Um, well, I guess short term, we are really in a great, exciting growth mode of our business, and so we're taking on a lot of new clients in the next several months, and there's a lot of exciting growth operationally and on the client side of our business. So that's a lot of exciting things. We also I guess personally, yeah, I as an entrepreneur myself and as a leader of a really growing business, I'm always learning, I'm always growing, I'm always reading and listening to podcasts. And so I guess that's a short term and a long term goal is just have continuous growth. Um, Long term goal for our business is that we want to really be a go to for these smaller, mid sized businesses and nonprofits that feel like they're kind of forgotten about when it comes to cybersecurity. Maybe they feel like it's too expensive. Nobody really understands how their unique business runs. We want to be that go-to, I would love to be identified as like that go-to person that is a safe person to talk to and someone that can really help empower you. Um, but and then long term, personally and professionally, yeah, I mean, um, love doing what we're doing, and are also starting to do more of this work on the global level. And so I'm very excited to get to see more of the world through doing this work that we cared so deeply and are so passionate about.
Good luck to your goals,
Thank you.
Miss JC, and looking forward for more success.
Thank you
And
so much.
what will be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be like you?
Ooh, like entrepreneurs, or in
Yes,
what way? Yeah, yeah.
as a cybersecurity strategist, a CEO,
Sure,
and
sure. Yes,
advocate.
I think one of the biggest things, biggest pieces of advice I always think, and I kind of always tell myself, is to really be aware of finding that intersection of what you really love doing, what makes you happy, and also how you can serve the world. I think that's how you can truly live an impactful life, and how you can also contribute to the community around you, and that's just such an impactful feeling. It allows you to feel so connected to the community in which you live, whether that's locally or state or nationally or globally. So I think really finding those things that make you happy, and kind of finding your unique way to serve the world. And I think also keep your eyes open for cool opportunities. You know, I come from cybersecurity with a background in politics and government and higher ed. And I got into cybersecurity because of my work in electoral politics. And so I think always keeping your eyes open for new opportunities and different ways that, your passions can kind of morph and bring you into cool new spaces and meet cool new people. Don't have tunnel vision. Be aware of all the different ways that your life can go, and follow your passions, and follow those cool ways that you can serve the world, and you'll have a really impactful life.
Follow your passion, indeed. And thank you so much for that advice, Miss JC. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Sure, sure. So, in preparing for this chat, I was thinking about a book that I listened to. So I did an audiobook recently. Dan Martell has a book, Buy Back Your Time. I'm not sure if anyone on your podcast has talked about this book before, but I listened to it about a couple months ago, and I thought it was really great. As an entrepreneur, if you pull a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of times when you ask, "What's your biggest goal right now?" and sometimes it's, I just want my nights and weekends back, or I want to have nights and weekends and not feel apologetic about taking some time for my friends or my family and just chilling, right? And this is a really great book. It is geared toward entrepreneurs, but it also is helpful for just busy people in general. And it really helps you take an audit of how and where you're spending your time, and where you can be um, you know giving certain tasks to other people who might be able to do it a lot better and a lot faster than you. And there's different books and different articles and podcasts that talk about this concept, but the way that Dan Martell lays this out was really helpful, and it resonated with me. And he includes a really great step-by-step time audit that you can run, and it really helps you understand how to kind of plot where you're spending your time into these four different quadrants and helps you identify those things that are taking up a lot of your time, but maybe you shouldn't be the one doing in a leadership position in your company. And also, how do you figure out ways to hire people for that? And so that's the really the concept of buying back your time and ultimately helping you really grow what you're doing and what you're building while while kind of lessening loosening the reins on certain things that other people can honestly do better and faster. And so it was a really cool book. I really love the way that it was very clearly outlined, and it even talked about some of the things in your personal life that you can maybe, if you have the budget, buy back your time in as well. So it was a really neat book. If you haven't read it or listened to it, I definitely encourage you to.
Thank you for that recommended book, Miss JC. And what's the most valuable cybersecurity leadership lesson you've learned
Ooh.
the hard way?
Oh, that's a great question. Are you talking about like business leadership or cybersecurity leadership specifically?
Both.
Oh, that's a good question. I think with business leadership, and I'm not sure if this is learning this the hard way, but I think one of the biggest things is following. And this might sound cheesy, but really following your gut is really important. Follow your intuition. I think since I moved to our business in a full time capacity, I've had to follow my intuition and my gut and trust that more than I ever have in my life. You're taking big risks. You're charting a path that hasn't, been done before. That's the point of building a business. And I'm not sure if that means you learn it a hard way, but it's scary, right? When you follow your gut, you don't know how things are going to turn out, but you really believe in what you're building. And so I guess that is, in a way, learning something the hard way is really following your gut and really persevere through some of that stress. But also find your people, find people that you can go chill out with, go talk things through, talk your ideas through. I have a great business partner that we chat about a lot of things. Um, but really follow your gut and maybe don't be afraid to defy odds and build what you're trying to build if you believe in it. And from a cybersecurity leadership perspective, I think one of the biggest things that I'm not in a obviously I'm not running a big huge enterprise, and I'm not like in running cybersecurity in a big company because we do consulting with businesses. But I think a big thing that a lot of cybersecurity leaders are learning, or leaders of businesses are learning when it comes to cybersecurity, is they put money into cybersecurity, and those cybersecurity efforts are working, and therefore the business is not seeing a lot of incidents. And then they start cutting that budget, and then those incidents are going to come back. And so I think when I see a big thing that's in our field that's a concern is this inability to kind of translate between the business speak and the technical speak, and people are not understanding each other. I think that's something that a lot of leaders, both business leaders like CEOs as well as chief information security officers or other security leaders in businesses, are learning the hard way when they're not finding ways to communicate with each other about why is this working, why isn't it working, this is why we need to renew the budget. And I think those things are really important. Really being able to translate between the business and the technical speak, and the human and the technical, is really important.
Very well said, Miss JC.
Thank you.
Very well said. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season. Abstract poetry in second season, and my food 101 in or book 101 review in its fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101 Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss JC, if you could get every executive to take one immediate action to improve their cybersecurity leadership, what would
Ooh.
it be?
Oh, that's great. I think one of the biggest things in this day and age, unfortunately, we always talk about it's not if, it's when a cyber incident is probably going to happen. And I think one of the biggest things that businesses need to do is have a strong incident response plan in place and have that written down and have everyone understand it. We do cybersecurity kind of fire drills. They're called tabletop exercises, a lot of fun. I think really beefing up and securing and elevating your incident response readiness is something that every business needs to do, because unfortunately, when that cyber attack comes knocking, it's a matter of, do you know what to do? Do you know how to respond? Have you practiced it? Because humans, in the fog of war, as we call it, humans revert back to what they know, what feels comfortable, what they're used to, what they've practiced. And if they haven't practiced good response practices, it's not going to be a great situation. Money can be lost, reputation can be lost, regulatory fines can happen. And so, if I could give that advice, no matter how small your business is, even if you're a one person shop, know what you are going to do and who you need to call, and have all of that written down in the case of a cyber incident, so that you don't become one of those businesses that is out of business within 6 months after a cyber attack. So, really, that incident response planning is so important. I cannot stress that enough.
Miss Jolie Grace Wareham, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and
Thank you.
wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Congratulations on all your success. This is
Thank you
great.
so much.
Thank
So,
you.
where do people can reach you, Miss?
Yes. Of course. So our it's easy to connect with me through our business's website. It's protosec.com. That's protasec.com. You can also find us on social media. If you just type in Protosec, you'll find us. You can also type in my name on any social media. I'm really on Instagram mostly and LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is where you can definitely find me. So that's my name, Jolie Grace Wareham, or our business, Protosec.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Jolly Grace where I'm, because if you support her, for sure, more and more and more empowering advocacy to come. More and more empowering advocacy for civic resilience and secure leadership to come. So, Miss JC, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. And again, congratulations. I know you're seeing a lot of success with your podcast. So congrats and thanks for caring about these issues.
Yes, more to come, people. See you soon. And thank you so much.